Hello, I'm Jessie,
I'm Nuts.
and this is DoThisNext.de, our second podcast. And we are business strategists, and as you can see, real life twins. It's a bit of a joke. So last time that we spoke to you, we actually went straight into a big, hairy subject about why your business isn't growing, which I'd say would be fairly typical of us to just launch straight into the project.
Yeah. No preamble. Straight in.
No preamble, straight to it. So this time we thought, well, maybe we should actually explain a little bit more about what Do This Next is, who we are, what on earth gives us the right to talk to you in the first place, and maybe, one or two things about ourselves that you could discover along the way. So let's get into it now. So first of all, what gave us the right to create Do This Next?
So what gave us the right? I mean, despite our youthful looks, we are fairly long in the tooth between us in terms of working in industry. So good old experience is counting. And I'd say over the years, to make it more meaningful for any potential clients out there, I've really pared back my craft to what works. So I think that's one big thing. Don't sort of mess around the edges, as per our intro where we got straight in. But I'm always learning too. Likewise, I'm not stuck in a mode to, you see that in our process as well. We have the interview, the reflection, the action that very much mirrors the way that I see life working and world of work working really well.
Nice, yes. And lifelong learning is definitely something that really motivates me too. But apart from that, we actually have quite an extensive background, and I'd say we cover all bases. So you started out in advertising, as did I, and then you actually founded your own agency. So you were employee and then you were the boss. And then I've worked, said agency side as well, but then I moved industry side. I've worked for big corporate global giants on some of the biggest brands in the world. And I have also had a stint in retail. So I will joke around saying that someone has something of mine in the cupboard. If you live in the UK, there's probably some product lurking in there that I had my hands on at some point in time, because I worked for Tesco for quite a long time. And yeah, and we've also set up our own businesses. So not only your agency, you have another business too. And of course, I am an entrepreneur. So I've put my money where my mouth is and actually launched my own brand into bricks and mortar. So I know what it's like to be in the big bad mass market, particularly, which is very, very tough. So I'd say that makes us fairly unique, that we've got a fair amount of bases covered.
I'd agree.
So yeah, there had to be a reason why we started Do This Next. So what is it particularly about leaders that we see them doing that made us want to help?
Yeah, I think, and I'm a bit of a behaviour geek, so it's frustration for me. And I think we don't surface frustration in the workplace enough because we're all very polite and we keep a lid on it. But I just see that frustration of someone who knows there's something else that could be done. There's something there that they could be doing, but they don't have the time or the headspace or the confidence or whatever it is to just go for it, but they know it's in grasp. So I just see that frustration. I just love to lift the load because that's not a nice place to be.
Yeah, and having seen corporate side specifically, I know the pressure. I know the fact that you need answers, you need them fast. You're not always getting the time that you need. You certainly don't get the headspace that you need. You've got emails pinging up, you've got messages pinging up, you've got all these things that are basically eating away at your mental load specifically, and that are not giving you the time and space to think. I mean, that's where I just wish people would advocate more for themselves and actually carve out that time in their diaries to think, because it is going to be well worth it than any email you're going to answer that day, or any text that you're going to answer that day, or any sort of little job. Actually getting down and thinking deep is what I'd really, really love leaders to do, and obviously what we're here to help facilitate. On that note, there are super millions of other consultancies out there. There are many consultants. So what makes us different?
I think we have worked really hard to make it as simple as possible to work with us, from an entry point, from how we're structured, what we produce at the end, and with one aim as well to use that simplicity to help you get on and to do that together. So it's a very collaborative process as well. We're not the consultants who are going to come in and tell you what to do. We are experts, but we're not going to adopt that kind of tell role. I just think that's good.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. I can't stand it when people come in, do their thing and leave. Just doesn't work for me. my husband won't agree with this, but actually listening quite deeply. It might not be sort of like listening one on
This
one and
works.
answering. Yeah, it may not be the same thing, but particularly listening on the periphery, like listening out for as much as what you're saying as what you're not saying. I think we're quite different because we don't just run down a standard set of questions or a standard framework. We're really listening to you individually and trying to get on a level of what your specific issue is and diving in with it or to it with you, as you said, like, not just ignoring what you're saying and just doing your thing, but actually doing it with you. And yeah, that leads to the next question, which is what did we promise we would never be as consultants? Number
We
one,
will
too
never be
stiff.
stiff. That's what we said. So we
I
will bring
say,
ourselves. We will bring ourselves to work. We will be ourselves. I guess maybe being out there doubling the world. We're used to just being, well, hey, this is us. And, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
exactly. Yeah. We're not going to get lost in perfectionism, as you can see, as I kind of cater back and forwards again, which I did in the
Yeah.
first one
We
and
have had
promised
a
not to.
conversation about the rocking, but, hey ho.
The manic rocking and the talking too fast. So yeah, we get very excited about things. So we're going to show our excitement for you because we are generally excited. And that I think makes us not consultants. And also, there's no politics. We love a difficult project. We love it. We are not going to be political about it and trying to make us look good. We're up for making you look good. It's your time really when you're working with us. We're all about the project. On that note, what will we not ever, ever, ever compromise on when it comes to strategic business planning? I will never compromise on being brave. I think
Uh,
most people have a really brave thought or a really brave idea in their head and they just don't dare voice it, especially if you're in a leadership role, because that means going out on a limb. But, I will never compromise on at least exploring whether that brave idea doesn't have legs and whether it doesn't have, even if it's just a nugget of an idea that might actually push a slightly safer idea further forward. This isn't about covering our backsides. This is about actually getting to strategies that will make a difference and actually push your brand forward. And you're only going to do that if you're not swimming in the tide of me too ism and just copying whatever the category's doing.
yeah. And for me, I think it's about a step change. Understanding that if you want something to change, you are going to have to make a meaningful change. Just see a lot of nibbling away at the edges of issues,
Mm-hmm.
almost getting there, but then falling short, lack of time, not having the backing of the bosses, perhaps, if you're in that scenario. But, a step change is really what you need. But also that step change can happen fast. Just because
Mm-hmm.
it's a step change doesn't mean it's not pretty close in reach. But that I will hold fast to. If it looks like you're about to sort of fudge the next step or make it small, I'm going to say, well, why don't we do the bigger, braver thing that actually will have a lasting result and really address the root cause?
It's always amazing how much that can actually bring an idea on, voicing something that you
Absolutely.
think is quite wacky.
Voicing it.
Mm.
If you come back a bit from that, voicing out loud what would the thing that you never thought you could do be, that will bring you towards a bigger thought than you perhaps envisioned in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's also about, like you said, voicing it from within. So this is a little bit different to me than blue sky thinking, which can sometimes just lead to sort of random stuff. It's more sort of like, what's the one thing you've never dared to say out loud that you really wish you would and that you keep coming back to, that just keeps popping into your brain. You're like, but, maybe we could X that you've never acted on. And is there something that we're quietly trying to fix in the business world, a secret little stealth movement that we're trying to undo?
Yeah, I think the sense that you don't have the answer yourself, and especially if you are
Amen.
working, if you're working with a consultancy, it's not because you don't have the answer. There are so many other reasons why you might want an external voice, a thinking partner, someone to spar with, but you've got it. It's in there. And so I think I just don't want this sense that you don't have the answer, that you need somebody else to come and tell
Mm,
you what to do or apply their model. Social media is making it so sort of crazy now that, how many feeds are there on your LinkedIn and others? Follow my 10-step plan, my 3 model, like see how my clients got to, triple their profit by following this, blah, blah. It's rubbish. The answer's in you.
it's definitely in you. And I think also, why would you give up that power to someone else, or all that knowledge that you've got, all that understanding that you've got of your own brand? Why would you hand it over? You need someone to sort of maybe frame the questions differently or help you think differently. But why would someone coming from the outside know any better than you would? I mean, this is what always gets me with particularly the very big consultancies, because they very much have a plan that they have to work through. And you see people in the room sitting there kind of silently seething because they've got something to say and they're not being given the chance to say it. So, but I think, yes, the big one for me too is you have the answer. You undoubtedly have the answer. You just need help to get it out, because it's super, super hard to do by yourself, because you just don't have that distance all the time to think about it. But you've definitely got a really good answer that is just slumbering away inside of you. So what makes us feel most alive when we're working with the team? You got an answer for that? I know you love working with
So
teams.
yeah, yeah, I love seeing the team start to respond, and it being that two-way building of an idea into a strategy. So I'm very structured in my approach. We will talk about this as a sort of yin and yang type between us. I will equally flex, and I love it when I get to that flex moment. It's like, oh, we don't need to go there because we're heading in this direction, and that's really exciting, and that makes me feel really alive, because I just think, wow, we're now really motoring towards what's going to be right for this team.
Yeah, I love it. I think whilst I would say I'm not unstructured, I am structured in a different way. Messy Jessie. It's more pattern spotting. It's more actually bringing things on the periphery. I think I do have a very specific knack at spotting that and making connections early where maybe others aren't yet connecting the dots. And I absolutely adore it when someone says something and I can connect it to something that someone said maybe 2 or 3 hours ago. And I'm like, oh, bingo. Here we go. There's something here. And I might not know what it is, but I don't need to have the full and final answer before I start hunting something down. I'll go for it. And that's what I super enjoy, because that usually means there's something more unique there. There's something a little bit braver there than, just going through the standard playbook of, well, here's the trends and we could do this and all that kind of stuff that you tend to get a bit samey on with the rest of the industry. So we've both worked for others, as we said at the beginning. We've got quite an extensive set of experience and we've been our own bosses. What's that taught you, being your own boss?
So I think what it's taught me in particular is that your own sense of direction is right, or right enough. Just go with what you feel like is the right way to take your business or your team or your brand or your product in that given time.
Uh-huh.
There's a reason why you stand at the front and do what you do, and didn't want to be the one necessarily who was not being expected to have the answers. So stick with that confidence. And I think that really taught me, especially when I work for myself, that's really valuable. Just knowing that sense of, yeah, I'm on the right lane here. I think that's one important thing. I think the other thing, that being a lifelong agency gal, although I have worked within clients on secondments, which was always very interesting, but being a lifelong agency gal, I also know that pitches suck, and they are the worst way to pick
They
up
are the worst.
clients, but also because they set up that client agency relationship from the get-go as if the thing that makes us most valuable is our strategic brains, our thinking, and we are expected to give it away at pitch or to have the answer without ever engaging with the client. What a load of rubbish. So yeah, they suck and I hate them. And I'd rather that, we get to know each other on a more equal footing.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to that, like, why would you expect someone coming from the outside to know, to know better than you are? They might have a bright idea, but yeah, the joy comes in working together, not working against each other and then having that kind of standoff, especially if you get that poker face pitch scenario, which is just the death passionately on something. I think I definitely know how hard it is to be your own boss, not just to come up with the answers and feel that you know enough and you've done enough to get at least the right enough answer to get you to the next base camp. I don't expect to sort of be able to fully foresee the future. And in fact, anybody thinks they can is certainly going to struggle. But at least to get to that point where you feel like, right, this is the right next decision to do and to do next. That's really, really hard because you don't necessarily have that sparing partner. You don't necessarily have that huge network of research documents or experts that you're calling on. There's a lot of, I call it lonely work. That can be really, really hard. And I think also, to be frank, just, structuring your day. I mean, if you're
Mm.
the leader, everybody's looking to you, whether that's because you need to split meaningfully or whether your day is being filled by other bumps that you don't seem to be able to get away from and actually do the thinking. I mean, for me, the leaders, you have to be a couple of years out and you're thinking really, ideally, and leave your best people in your team thinking further in. And then the next section, doing the actual execution. You have to be ahead of the game. You've got to be the visionary, and I think that's so extraordinarily hard to do when you're your own
Yeah.
boss, because you
Yeah.
get mired down in the daily do and you get really stuck in the most immediate and urgent but not necessarily the most important. And I think that's super, super hard. What's the one thing or the one mistake that you might have made that you're actually now weirdly grateful for in retrospect?
Yeah, it was not a mistake, but it was a really difficult boss. She was brilliant, big brain, but such a micromanager. And I learnt a lot, but I was labouring under this constant cloud that everything would be pulled apart and nitpicked, and it was all last minute and very stressful. And I just got to a point where I was either going to leave marketing completely or say something. And thank goodness I said something. And what I said was, just let me get on with the work. And if it fails, on my shoulders be it. But I would rather you left me alone and I took that risk than we continue to have this tussle. And it was the best conversation I ever had. Never looked back from there.
Brave one.
Necessary.
Necessary. Well, I can't say that mine wasn't a genuine mistake. The worst thing I've made, and it almost cost us our entire business, definitely was just a mistake. And it's because I wasn't listening to the right customer. Like, there was a very intellectual, strategically correct reason why we did what we did, but it wasn't the right thing for the actual customer that we're trying to attract. So it's very specifically when we first launched No Planet, we had the right idea that we wanted to make natural and organic products more colorful, more joyful, more modern. It was around street art and tattoos and bright colors and urbanization, and not the kind of happy clappy, meadows and fields that we'd seen up to that point. But we were certified, and to show the certification, we were like, well, that means we're more expensive. We've got to show something to show that we're more expensive. So we chose a brown bottle, which, where with the design on paper, in
Yeah.
store was a disaster and just wasn't cosmetic enough. And we were going for a mainstream audience. Our whole thing was, let's break natural and organic cosmetics out of its little niche, stop talking to the converted and actually get some people excited who don't normally pick up that kind of product. And then, we fell flat on our face for that one silly mistake, which I said, I could rationalize. I could have argued it till the cows come home. It was just not the right thing to do, and did not have our laser focus on who we were talking to. We got sucked back into an old world. And that was a painful mistake. Because, by the way, we're talking 400,000 bottles by that stage that have been produced. So not a fun one to own up to, but it has made me so much more diligent and makes me stop now and always challenge myself if I'm actually achieving what we want to achieve, to take a step back. I'm quite impulsive. I can move quite fast, as can you. That's a benefit, but it can also be a bit tricky when it means that you're rushing into something and you haven't really tested it from all sides, I say, to see if it's actually what you need to do. So that was my little confession of a terrible mistake, but we survived. So on the flip side, what's that moment when you actually realise, like, oh, I'm actually quite good at this business strategy malarkey?
Yeah, the strategy malarkey. Especially as I didn't set out to be a strategist, but I think I can hold a complex argument in my mind and see a conclusion quite early on. And that conclusion isn't fixed, but I can see there's an answer and we're steering there. And even if I'm not quite sure of the journey from A to B yet, I'm holding fast that the thinking is there and it's right, and we are steering in the right direction. Obviously, I've honed it over the years, but I think it came from originally from doing a literature degree. So I didn't do marketing degree. I'm a little bit grateful because having done this serious literature degree at a very serious university and being old enough to not have been using a laptop at the time as well, they were banned. So we had to handwrite our essays, and I had to produce so many essays over a week on all these complex subjects. And I really hated rewriting them. So I think I got really good at having a conclusion in mind, mapping out my points, and then just smashing it out. And I did that week in, week out, 4 years. And as a result, I think I just have this ability to bring complex strands into something coherent at the end. I mean, there are old bosses who will say that I definitely didn't do that on certain things, and you learn through those. But I know I have a good, strong sense of where we're headed. And I can put a lot of ingredients in that pot, jumble it
Nice.
together, and produce a nice cake.
Nice. Yes. Let's not ever pretend that someone's perfect, but I think know your strengths is actually quite a good thing. Give yourself a little tap on the back every now
Well,
and then,
yeah,
or
I
tap on
get
the
called the
shoulder.
machine.
The machine.
My nickname in several workplaces is being the machine. I was always a bit amused, but I've decided it's probably a compliment.
Well, that's quite funny. Well, I would say if you're the machine, I'm the terrier. I've said it before. I'd say one of my strengths is spotting things in the horizon and just hunting them down. I'm going to worry at that until I figure out what it is, what dot I can connect. So I think that's where I'm really quite good, or where I realised I was quite good. And I've always joked that where I go tends to be a bit of a revolution. For whatever reason, every place I've ever worked, we've ended up upending things for good. But, that's always come from some little nugget, some little kernel that I've spotted. And I'm just like, I'm going to hunt this down. I've got my teeth in this now. I know there's something in it. So, yeah, I'm sure both of us are terrifying to work with, by the way. That's from the outside. I'm sure we
There's a good sell.
don't forget, we're always in it for you and for the project. We're not in it for ourselves. Enticing images. It's for a good thing. We promise. We promise. We promise. So yeah, why is the twin thing an asset?
Well, I think maybe as is coming across, Jessie, you're very bubbly, lots of ideas, fast talking, etc. I am more reflective. I like to think across it, get it sorted in my mind, and then out it comes. And I think we work well together. And so we've structured the business around that ability,
Mm-hmm.
with you leading from the front, having the conversations, picking up those little gems, those little spots on the horizon, for me to then review, go deep on, consider what else might be in there, have these kind of conversations. So if anyone is terrified, we are going to have these gabbly type conversations between ourselves. We will have a much more structured conversation with you. So if you're more of the visionary, I am more the first follower, but I can definitely spot when an idea is a good one versus one that I'm thinking, yeah, just leave that one up there in the little blue skies realm and we'll go for that one instead.
No, I fully agree. When we're working together, I'm sure it's quite hilarious from the outside. Apart from anything else, I don't have to be polite to you at all. So I know what you're thinking, know what you're saying, and I could just get on to
Didn't even
it.
have to finish my sentence, usually.
No, I could just finish it for you and go, I know what you're going to say. Just go on. No, I think we are the perfect pairing. I think it's quite rare, but we do work genuinely really, really well together because we've got quite a similar style in many ways, but then quite distinct skill sets in many other ways, and also quite a distinct background. And that coming together is quite fun in a way that, yeah, we can just be very much about the project, back and forth, really digging into whatever it is we want to do for you. And I think bonus, that is a real bonus.
And being in
So,
marketing as well, it's kind of hilarious that we are a genuine bog off. You buy one, get one free when you work with us. So having both had a background in FMCG, we're a real deal.
yes, no, we definitely are. If you're looking at the price point, going, why is it 2,000 for a 2-hour conversation? It's like, well, it's not just a 2-hour conversation. We're going to be doing this for hours on anything that you've said, as well as going into everything else that we think is going to be of benefit for your project. So that's the reason why 2 brains, lots of time, lots of getting into it. So what makes us light up then, apart from digging into people's problems when we're working with leaders?
Yeah, it's honest conversations for me. So when you get to that point, and I traditionally get to that point quite quickly, even if you're talking to somebody relatively new, that you have an honest conversation. You're not trying to hide the thing that you didn't want to share. Maybe again, it's a benefit of talking to externals, having been agency side most of my life. I understand it is sometimes helpful just to open up to somebody who is not within your business or your team. So that real honest conversation, not take it too seriously either. We are serious about solving the problem, but nobody's died here. Experienced enough to say we can weather this and get to an answer. But, don't worry, we'll get there.
Oh, absolutely, don't worry. And I'll keep it short. For me, it's that little epiphany moment when you just see someone light up and go, oh, something's gone off in their brain. Some dot has been connected. I love that when people realize they've actually got the answer. That just makes me smile every time. What's a mess that we like to walk into?
I like the mess of super engaged, super busy team, but it is that busy work that we talked about in the first podcast, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just they've fallen into that trap. And I think when I see that shift from doing tasks to getting real work done, I really like that moment. I'm like, oh, we're really doing something meaningful now. That's my fave.
I love it when people realise someone else might have the answer. So I adore working with cross-category teams, or at least
Oh
getting their
yeah,
input,
yeah,
because, that can be so powerful because I said within your teams, you've got 99.9% of
you
everything you
you've
need. You
got
just need to
smart
get
people
together.
working for you.
Yeah, completely. And I love it when you walk in, you're like, oh, you're a silo, you're a silo, you're a silo. You three together are absolutely brilliant. Let's get into this. So what's the moment in a project where we both go, yes, here it is. This is it.
This is it. So I have my moment of calm. So I'll be on a sort of nervous energy, trying to work out the strategy, maybe getting a bit cross with it, maybe blaming some other people. That's my MO. But then I'll come to a point. I'll work through that. Don't worry, it happens behind the scenes. But I'll have a sense of calm. I'll sort of, I'm happy with that. And yeah, I know we're going to refine it. It's not its final iteration, but I just get a sense of
Mm.
it's there. I don't need to keep majorly fiddling with this. It's there.
Nice. I think you'll calm my energy. I love it when the energy changes in the room or with the person and they start riffing off the idea. That's when you know you've got a good one. When you can start putting legs on it and get other ideas off it. I'm like, yes, that's it. That's it. We've got it. What's the thing that we like to nerd out about? We are quite nerdy.
I'm a behaviour nerd. Yes, I
Yes.
am analysing what you're saying, so and what
I
you're
know,
doing,
always.
and what your boss might be thinking. But aim to make it helpful. So along the way, innovating if there are some, unhelpful beliefs or unhelpful habit patterns that we could rattle a bit as well, especially if we're working a little bit longer term with somebody. But yeah, I just love it.
Cool. And I love all things strategy. I just absorb it. And it's little bits that I pick up. Like on my dog walk this morning, I was looking at the stickers. Stickers are genius. They're genius. Good stickers are amazing at getting across a point of view in 2 seconds flat. This tiny little space. And it's like, oh, but I've got it. And you've made a point. So yeah, I'm always picking up stuff. Love reading about strategy. Sticker strategy could be a good challenge. Can you put it on a sticker? Honestly, I've seen people do worse. Righty, let's get into who we made it for. Do this next. Our lovely do this next .de. I'm going to say the .de. It's not .com. It's do this next .de if you're looking for us. So
Mm.
who have we made it for? Well, I think we said it a few times already. It's for CEOs, it's for founders, it's for leaders, specifically senior leaders and teams. It's those people who are having to run the ship and make the decisions. And we're very specifically at that end because we want these strategies to be implemented. And that's where strategies happen at the top. Of course, an idea can come from anywhere, and we want you to work with your team. But I mean, how many times have you and I worked on something brilliant and then in a 5-minute flat conversation, it's gone to the board or it's gone to the top and it's just died. It's just so excruciating when that happens. So we are all about those people in the decision-making chair, working with you, giving the space that you need, listening to you deeply, as I said, and really helping you figure out what your next step is, the do this next in your business. That's what we're about. Conversely, though, there are people that we're not for. Who are we not for, Nat?
I think politely, if you're not willing to have a conversation, by which I mean also listening back to us and to give us that courtesy of listening, then probably not for us. We really are believers in and practitioners of collaborative strategy. So as I said, I'm willing to give up the role of expert, even if I am one and I can be that, but I am not going to be the expert who comes in and tells you I want that people-centered solution that comes from within the business. We know it's there, like you said, when people start to adopt it and own it as their own and champion it as their own, that for me is a real win. I don't want it to be do this next solution. So if you want me to come in and tell you what to do or apply our method or do something really slick and fancy, we ain't slick and fancy.
No, definitely not. And in terms of where, because obviously I think some people who know us will know I live in Germany, you live in the UK. I mean, we're kind of interested in anyone who feels that they have the need of our services. So this deep 2 hour conversation where we're going to really dig into what the issue is. Might actually find out it's a different issue altogether, but we'll start there. But digitally, we could talk to obviously anyone. This is something that we can do digitally. We can also do it in person. Ich kann es auch gerne auf Deutsch machen. For anyone who's in Germany, that's auch. So that's kein Problem. Das machen wir auch ganz, ganz gerne. So yeah, so for anybody based in Germany, based in Europe, based in the UK, possibly in the US, anywhere, we are more than happy to take on your challenge and work with you in our session. I'm actually going to skip forward to talk about what actually happens with Do This Next. You can go to our website, which is dothisnext.de. You can have a look at what we offer. You can get in touch with me via an email link that will automatically book you into my calendar for a no strings held conversation with you to see, if it's a good fit on both sides. And after that, so we'll set up this 2 hour session, which will be recorded so that we can go back and analyze it in great, great detail. And then from all that analysis, particularly from the 2 hour conversation, we will come back with a very, very clear set plan of action that is meant to be implemented. So it's not something that is so abstract or so crazy that you can't do it. The idea is to get you started on a very distinct route and actually get you implementing versus having a strategy that looks good on paper, but actually no one's got any idea what to do. And on that note, it is very much about everyone in your team should understand what their role is within this action plan and how it's actually going to shift your brand forward so that you're no longer the one point of call whenever it comes to what direction we're taking this brand forward. The idea is that we get you to a point where that should be pretty clear. So, yeah, I mean, a great outcome if you work with us 2 weeks later would be that you come back and say, we did this, we tried that. Maybe we tried that and it didn't work, but actually it led us down, to this route, and that's actually fine. We want you to actually get started. So, and if there are things that you then would like our continued help with, that's also absolutely fine. We are well versed in all things business. We can work with your teams, we can upskill individuals, we can help you crack an idea or a proposition. We can take it across all aspects of your brand, whether it's, the pricing, from the positioning to the product ideas. We can help you with all those kind of things, including strategy. So yeah, we're here for you and we would love to work with you. So as we wrap up, we're going to do a quick fire round on us. So best trait in business for you?
Perfectionism.
Okay.
Because I see a problem and solve it.
Plotting, because I see an opportunity and I hunt it down. Worst trait?
Perfectionism. Sometimes I can't let it go.
That's funny. Interrupting people. There's no surprises there. It's only because I'm excited. Chaos twin and the structure twin. So chaos twin.
As if you have to answer.
What are you annoyingly picky about?
Saying what you mean.
Saying what you mean, yes. Okay. And for me, it's taking care with the stuff that you present. I'm sorry, if it's full of typos, I'm like, lazy documents, lazy thoughts. Me talking too much. If I start to talk a lot, it's probably because I'm struggling somewhere. I need to take a pause. So your workshop superpower?
Taking that team that bit further. They'll be exhausted afterwards, but I will have taken your team that bit further and they'll be happy.
Very nice. I love getting disparate people together, cross-category teams, everybody from R&D down to supply, getting them working with each other so you don't get that sort of like, well, brand said and marketing said and then data said. No, actually getting them working together so that you can actually implement easier. What's your favourite brand and why? Don't think too long.
It's a dog food brand, obsessed, but it's called Naturaw. It's a little brand in the UK, but it's got the absolute red thread through it. It's got excellent food. It's all natural. The trays are compostable. They're not nasty plastic. They've got fantastic service. They've got everything right. And you so rarely see that coming together. And it's just a humble little dog food brand.
Most overrated business trend?
Influencers. Why would you pay money to someone who fundamentally their first goal is self-promotion? They're not going to promote you.
That's true. At least they're not going to do it unless you collaborate. So yeah, don't just leave them to it. Work with them. Then you might actually get quite a good result. For me, it's the eternal trading up. You can't always trade up, people, especially if you're a brand for the people. I think there are a lot of businesses out there that really, really, really could do with looking at who their business base is and how they actually cater them better. I mean, how many times have we seen other brands come in and steal their territory because they're so focused on the trade up? Yeah. Stop trading up. Think about your customer base. So, what should leaders stop doing tomorrow?
Working in silos. So making an impact is not solo work. Takes a
True.
team.
Absolutely. And for me, be brave. Please be brave. That idea that's pinging around in your head is a good one. Follow it up. What's the one thing you'll always ask a client when you start working with them?
What's on your mind?
Ditto. It's such a genius question. So there we go. It was a twin ditto at the end. So this has been a long one. I hope it's been useful. I hope you've got to know us a bit better. Said we are DoThisNext.de if you're looking for us, or you can look at this channel on YouTube, which is at Do This Next. Is where you'll find us, and we're on LinkedIn, both of us. So many ways to find us. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to get into it, sit down with you for 2 hours, really get inside your head, and then come up with that lovely action plan of what to do next. So it's bye from us until next time. Bye bye.